Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we make custom Douglas fir blocks. My son Simon likes to play with magnetic, I guess panels, I don't know what you'd call them, and he likes to build them up. And the problem he has with that is because of the weight that the stuff ends up being, it ends up becoming a very unstable structure. So what these will do is allow him to build things up higher and make larger structures without using up all his little magnetic blocks. And it also allows him to sort of have more creative ideas as to what he can do. So with this, it's the first set. So with this, he can make little tunnels and whatever else he likes to play with. Material I used was Douglas fir. And one thing I made sure of, he's 4.5 years old, so I want to make sure there's nothing sharp on here that could cut him, because I've actually cut myself on these things. What you do is you chamfer all the sides, roughly 45 degrees. I use the sander. I could have used the router to do it as well. And this makes sure there's no sharp corners or anything like that. So it falls down, which it probably will. If it falls on him, it has a nice weight to it, so he knows it fell on him, and he'll definitely feel it. But at least it won't cut him, so he'll recover from it pretty quick. I've done a lot of this kind of work using a variety of different species, from maple to poplar. Poplar is generally the most popular one that I do this type of work with. But maple is a close second. I also did it with sycamore, tulip. There's a lot of different wood species that you can do this type of work with. And each has their plus and minus. For this project here, I just happen to have this slab sitting in the shop, so I figured I might as well make Simon's blocks out of it. And that's why I ended up using that. But if you wanted this in maple, you wanted this in oak, you wanted this in walnut, what have you, they're all possible. Now, as I'm making these blocks, I want to make sure that they're all cleaned up on all 4 sides. And that's why you saw me use the table saw to cut it in half. And then what I did was flip those 2 sides onto the table. And then what the router will do was flatten any sort of machining marks from the table saw off, at the same time making the same height, at least on one setting, so to speak. After that, I just rotate them around until I get the thickness that I want. And again, as mentioned before, I want a little bit of an offset between them, so they're not all exactly square. They're a little bit here and there, a little bit of give between the 2 blocks. So that's why you saw the production sort of happening the way it did. Now, when it comes to routering out everything here that you see, the process is very straightforward. After I have the blocks sort of in the long sense that I need, then I just have to measure each block. Each block is either 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, or 12 inches long. So that's what I'm doing with the measuring tape. I'm just measuring it. Again, I don't need this level of precision for kids' toys, but I'm just used to doing it that way, so that's the way I did it. The nice thing about the cleaning process that I did with all these blocks is that the next process is sanding them all. So I can clearly see the edges, I can clearly see everything. While if I did the sanding first, it'd be kind of hard to work out what was the wood, what was the roughness of the wood that I don't want. Now, after all of this is cut, then the sander cuts all the straight angles on this so that it doesn't become sharp, because it is very sharp and it cuts you. So rounding them off with the 45-degree chamfer solves that problem right away. The other benefit of that, it actually gives it more of aesthetic appeal to the blocks. After that is done, the next step is applying tung oil on all the sides. Now, I made the system for holding the blocks up, or any sort of wood up, after applying the tung oil. I made that for another project, and I've been using it extensively ever since. The laser cut produces a nice sharp angle, and I found that it doesn't produce any mark at all on the underside when it comes to doing this, what you see here, applying the tung oil, then I put it on. But you can't see any of the marks. They're pretty much invisible. So I use this extensively, and I have a ton of those made, and whenever I need more, I can just laser cut them out. Now, for the material selection for this, I have a bunch of different woods in the shop, but this material, the Douglas fir, already came roughly at a good thickness. Most of the wood I have in the shop is a little bit thinner, because most of the projects I do are generally thinner wood, not the thicker side. So that's why I use this. So looking for custom blocks or anything else, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.